So it's been about 4 years since I've been making videos and doing photo stuff, and during that time I've tried on quite a bit of lenses here and there, and I've also added some to my own collection, like this 35 f1.8 or this 85t 1.5 lens. But the lens that I've used the most ever since I've had it is actually this one. This is the Sigma 70-50 f2.8. Now disclaimer, this video is not a review of this lens, I'm just going to talk about my experience using it. So with that said, don't expect me to talk about every little thing there is. Now when I was in the market to buy a new lens, I really wanted to get the Sigma 80-35 f1.8 art lens, but at the moment it was a bit over my budget, so I had to look at something else. And the next best thing that I could find was this. And I'm actually really glad that I bought it, because ever since I've had it for the past 4 years, this lens has been everywhere with me, on every shoot, on every project that I've done, and even on shoots where I know I'm not going to use it, I just still keep it in my bag just in case. And now, as I said, this lens has a 70-50mm focal length, which makes it so useful for all kinds of stuff, from taking landscapes to portraits and everything in the middle. So at the widest, it can open up to about 17mm or about 25mm full frame, and can zoom into about 50mm or about 75mm full frame, which makes it so much versatile to use for all kinds of stuff. And I've used this on so many different types of projects, like I've used it for jewelry videos, cooking videos, events, portraits, model shoots, and a whole lot more stuff here and there. It also has a constant f2.8 aperture, which means you don't have to worry about your exposure changing when you're changing up the focal length, and that is so useful that you don't have to worry about your exposure changing when you're setting up or changing up the framing. It also has optical stabilization built into it, but it's not as good as something like native Canon or Sony lenses, but it does remove out those micro jitters, but nothing more than that, so I don't rely on it that much. And another great thing about this lens is actually the macro capabilities that this lens offers. And it was a bit surprising for me, because this lens is no in any shape or form a macro lens. I don't remember what it said on paper that the minimum focusing distance was, but for example, if your lens is here and let's say your subject is this phone, you can easily get this close to your subject and it will still focus on it pretty easily. And if you go all the way to 50mm, you can get some really nice macro shots using this lens, which leaves you with a decent macro lens with variable focal range. Now optically speaking, this lens is pretty sharp, not the most sharpest out there, but for the price is decently sharp, even at the widest open aperture at f2.8, and when you lower down the aperture it gets even better from there. It does have a bit of distortion and vignetting going around at the widest focal length at 17mm, but it's nothing crazy. And it also has a bit of chromatic aberration going on when you're shooting in high contrasty scenes around the highlights, but again, it's nothing that prominent and totally useful. And overall, optically, I'm really satisfied with this lens. I never had any problem when it comes to the optical capabilities that this lens has, so it's good in that department. Now, build quality wise, it is entirely made out of plastic, and it also doesn't have weather sealing. Now that makes it sound like it's not gonna be that much durable, but let me tell you from my experience, this lens is hella durable and can take quite a bit of beating. I have dropped it accidentally a couple of times, and as I said, it doesn't have weather sealing, but mine's got drenched on numerous occasions, and I have even dropped it in mud once, and I thought that the lens would be a goner by then, but I just picked it up and cleaned the mud here and there, and it was good to go. There's still a bit of mud stuck in the focal and the focusing ring, but it doesn't hinder the usability of the lens in any way. So it works just fine even after 4 years of being used like on a daily basis, not in the best possible manner. So for overall build quality, when you're holding it in hand, it doesn't feel like the best and most durable thing out there, but from experience I can easily say that it is built really well and it can take some serious amount of beating. Now it's not just good things that this lens has, there's also a bad thing, and it's quite a big one. So the only bad thing that this lens has in my opinion is the autofocusing system. Now the autofocusing actually works fine, it's more on the slow end, and it also hunts sometimes when it's trying to find the subject, but it's totally manageable. The thing that is bad about the autofocusing system is actually the autofocusing motor. It's so loud and so bad, it's like tuck, 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 like an old typewriter or like a fax machine. And wait, let me just give you an example. Here. See, it's so bad. Like if you're using this lens with the autofocusing and shooting a scene where you're also gonna need the audio, then just forget about it. It's so loud that it's almost guaranteed that the microphone will pick it up no matter where you put it in the room. What can I say? It's so loud and so bad. Just that single thing makes it so hard to use it for video. But besides that, overall, I am really happy with this lens. And when it comes to photos, it doesn't even bother me because it's photos. And when it comes to the photography side of this lens, it's good. I am really satisfied with it. I don't usually take that many photos, but I'll try to put in a couple of examples that I've shot using this lens. It works great. I don't have any complaints with it, mainly because it is a photo lens first. I use it mainly for video. Photography wise, it is a really good lens. And yeah, so those were all the things that I wanted to say. I really wanted to talk about this lens because so useful and so good for all kinds of things. And I'm not telling you to go out and buy exact this lens. What I'm trying to say is, if you don't have a lens like this in your bag, you should totally get it. You will see how good and useful it is, and you fell in love with it like I have for the past 4 years, to the point like if I have to take just one lens from my kit to go on a shoot, it would definitely be this one, and I would be totally happy to pick it over any other lens in my kit. And yeah, that should tell you how much I like using this lens over any other that I have. So that's it for today's video, I guess. I know it's more on the boring side, but I really wanted to talk about this lens, and I'll try to put out something more interesting next time, so maybe stick around for that. And yeah, thanks again for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.